Hi beautiful people, welcome to my June 2025 setup. Today I'll be using this gorgeous washi tape set called Phantom Witches, which will be linked in the description below, as well as these papers from Temu, some Tombows as usual, a Pit Artist brush pen and Pentel touch brush, as well as these stickers set which I got from Journalsay. Now I decided to do Waterfall Tabs this month. I really didn't use the Squarespace well last month, and I'm still trying to get my head around that. I kind of ended up doing just lots of things that I would have done in my B5 journal, just a bit squished in height. So I thought this would be a good way to try and really have to think about the space each layout and try and come up with some new ideas. So I've already gone through and measured and penciled where all the cutting needs to be done. I'm just cutting out all the excess paper now. Now, as much as I measured it all and thought I'd figured it all out very nicely, I do discover in a minute that this tab is not actually meant to be a tab, and I had measured wrong. But that's okay, I cut that one off and we make it work. I think it turned out alright in the end. But, you know, I guess that's why they say measure twice, cut once. Maybe I will learn that lesson one day. Okay, so now that that's all cut, we're just going to go through and add some washi into all of the pages just to make the tabs more visible. The other nice thing about adding washi on all of these is that it does a lot of the heavy lifting decoration wise, so you don't have to do a lot else on your spreads if you don't want to. Obviously I do, because we all know I'm not a minimalist person when it comes to my journal, but that's okay. That's my style. So I did start with the ones that are more visible first, just to get those ones in with the thicker washi tapes, and then I'm just going through and just adding a different tape to all the other pages. This set actually has 36 different designs, so I had lots to choose from. So I thought, why not do something different on all of them. I've gone with a witchy theme this month, going back to my natural style a little bit, I guess. My mental health has been not awesome for the last month, so I just wanted to do something that would bring me joy. It's also my birthday month, so I thought it's all about me and what I like. I always find it a bit hard to come up with theme ideas at this time of year. I think because there's no special holidays like Easter or anything, and it's winter in Australia where I am, so it's cold and miserable outside. My mood's always a bit low at this time of year. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing for your June setup. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll have some better ideas for next year when I get to this slump. So that's all the washi tape on now. I'm just going through and rounding the corners of each page just to make it feel a bit more finished, and also decrease the chance of me accidentally peeling a bit of washi when I turn one of these tabs. Unfortunately, my corner cutter can't do the little tabs, so I had to do them by hand. Alright, so moving on to the cover page. I'm just going to use a couple of torn pieces of those ephemera papers that I got, I think, from Temu. Just to start laying down a bit of decoration. This is going to be heavy on the decoration on this page, but that's alright. It's a cover page. It doesn't really need to be functional, it just needs to look nice. And although this starts a little bit dodgy, it does eventually get to a place that looks nice to me. I like my cover pages to give me a little bit of joy when I look at them, especially, as I said, at this time of year when I'm already feeling a bit in a slump anyway. I'm just using a bit of craft paper dot grid tape, which is one of those supplies that I wish I knew about earlier. It is fantastic and so much easier than cutting out craft paper and having to glue it into my journal. I thought that was a nice way just to make the title stand out amongst what's going to be a very busy page. I'm trying again to do this collage-y type of decoration, but I'm not sure that I'm really cut out for this. I like the layering of things, but I never quite know when to stop. And sometimes I might go a little bit too far. But that's okay. In the end, I was happy with it, and I guess that's the main purpose, isn't it? That you like your journal. So I'm just laying down some of these PET stickers from Journalsay just to fill in some of the gaps. And then we're on to the monthly overview. I've gone with the calendar layout again this month. It's a little bit smaller than the one I used last month, but I don't tend to write a lot in this anyway. I was tempted to do a vertical layout like I have done many times in the past, but then it would have only taken up one page, and one of these pages with the waterfalls wasn't really going to be wide enough to write on for me, I thought. But maybe it would have been. I don't know. I've gone with the calendar anyway. We've got 6 rows on this calendar with the funny little single box at top and the bottom. I could have put that bottom one at the top and made it only 5 rows, but I really prefer to have the last day of the month at the bottom like that. But you can always do that if you want a bit more space to write in your boxes. This gives us a nice little space to add a bit of decoration anyway, which I wanted to do. Just popping the numbers in, and then we'll move on to the decorations. As you can see though, it doesn't really need it. Like, just the washi tape on the side would have been enough if you're more of a minimalist type person than I am. But I'm just using a bit of this Witchy washi across the top and bottom just to fill in that negative space a bit. I've just cut this little tree off. It was a cute little tree. It's a tiny bit of tape, but I definitely will use it somewhere in this month's setup. These stickers that I'm using now, I don't know where they came from. They'll just in my stash, but if I can figure it out, I will link them for you. So turning the page, this will be our monthly dashboard. The page on the left will have a section for tracking bills and weekly tasks that need to be done, as well as a running to-do list for the month and people I need to call. And the right-hand page will have my habits and mood trackers. So I'm just going through and doing some second line highlight in a 620, which is the light purple, and N95 for the grey, just to fill in the space and make it look a bit more complete. Because my habit and mood trackers are going to be right up against each other, I'm doing half the page in the grey highlight and half in the purple, just so I can see very easily where my habit tracking stops and my mood tracking starts. There are a few columns sort of at the end of the habit tracking that don't get filled in every single day, so this just helps me to figure out exactly where I'm at when I'm trying to fill this in a hurry. And I'm just highlighting every second column so that I don't have to rule lines for all of them, because the less time I can spend ruling lines, the better. I do have to rule some on this side though, just to finish up these spreads properly. I like to, especially on spreads like this where I know the layout fairly well, I like to do the lines after the highlight, just because sometimes with the Tombow highlighter, if you go over your fine liner a little bit, it can drag that black in and smudge onto your colour a little, and then it doesn't look pretty and I don't like it. Now we just need to go in with some headings and pop in the little codes for the things that I'm actually going to be tracking onto the tracker page, and it'll be pretty much done. It's not a lot of room for decoration on this page because it is taken up by all this functional stuff, but luckily with all those washes down the side, it doesn't really need it. So I've made a few mistakes setting up this layout. In fact, this entire month, I think I did 3 in total. So if you spotted them all, let me know in the comments, and let me know what your favourite way to hide mistakes is. Do you just run with them, or do you have some tricks that I can try? Alright, so now we're just setting up my content tracker on the left hand page, and then my 1 line a day will go on the right. So this page is just for me to keep track of all the things I need to do for my socials. The box at the top will be for YouTube. It's a bit bigger because obviously YouTube content has a little bit more involved in getting it ready and out than the other things. The other 4 boxes are just one for each week, and the content I need to post to Instagram and TikTok and things like that. This is again a pretty simple layout, fairly functional and not much space for decoration, though I do manage to squeeze a little bit in. This side is literally what it says, 1 line per day. So we've got 30 rows, and just write 1 line of a memory or something you're grateful for, or whatever you want really. I tend to do a bit of a mixture of things on this one, but I know a lot of people use it purely for memory keeping or purely for gratitude logging. It's up to you. Let me know if you do a 1 line a day spread, how you use the page in your journal. Alright, and then we're going to set up our first weekly for the month, and this is the only weekly we'll be setting up in this video again. So for this one I've split each page basically into 6 sections. So I'll have 7 boxes for the days of the week. I'll also have a box for jotting down anything that's happening the following week, and another box for a self-care tracking section, which is something I started in May and seems to be working well for me so far. So I will keep that up until I decide it doesn't work anymore, I guess. So I'm just using that N95 again in the light grey to do the second line highlights for this one. As you can see, I did just go over the fine liner on this page, but I'm using my uni pin, which is a pigment ink. Doesn't seem to smudge the Tombow the way some other inks do, so it was okay luckily. So I've got a nice little space down the bottom corner there to add a bit more decoration. First we'll just go through and pop in the days of the week and the dates. Fill in all the practical functional stuff first. And when I check what day this month actually starts on. It's this self-care tracker. I just kind of, it's basically like the Alistair method inside a box, inside a spread that's not Alistair-ish, if that makes sense. Just write down what I did for self-care and a little check mark under whatever day I did it on, basically. Let's bring in another piece of that torn paper that I used on the cover page down the bottom here, and one of those stickers from Journalsay. Not too much, but just enough to tie it all in. And I thought I'd just add a little bit of this really thin washi, just for a little bit of interest. I actually then go and add a bit of that onto the front cover at the end to tie that back in as well. And this last page we'll be setting up is my brain dump page. Or as I like to call it, my daily dumps, because apparently I'm 12 and I find that entertaining. There's not going to be a lot of anything on this page really. It's mostly going to be filled up with writing, so I do need to leave a fair bit of space for that, but just a little bit of decoration at the top and bottom there just to tie it into the theme and make it look a little bit visually appealing so that I actually want to come to this page during the month. Going to look fairly empty when it's set up. I'm not doing second line highlights or any of that sort of stuff, but if you can imagine when this whole diagonal section is full of writing, it will be quite full, and I find it quite appealing, quite pleasing to see it all filled out in writing at the end. There's that little tree that I told you I would definitely use somewhere. Couple more of those stickers that I had in my stash. Little quotes that I've cut off the washi tape, and then we're done. This is for a flip through. Oh, before I do, this is when I decided I'd add a little bit of that green. That white space there was annoying me because it's the only empty white space. So I thought it was a good way to tie in that green washi that I used in the weekly anyway. just have a flip through, and then we're done. If you do like this content and you'd like to see more of it, please head over to my Instagram page at Beeutiful_crafts, or have a look at some of the other videos on my channel. There should be cards to them popping up very shortly. There's a whole playlist of monthly setups, as well as all sorts of other things. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!